everyone. Today I am going to teach you about intrauterine fetal death. Let me tell you a story first. A patient named Annie. She is 34 weeks pregnant. She had some complications like hypertension and also diabetes mellitus. One day after dinner, she felt that there was no fetal movement. She became worried. She went to the hospital as soon as possible. Then the doctor checked her, and the ultrasonogram report was that the baby was dead. The baby died in utero. So, from this story, I think you have guessed that what is the case. It is the case of intrauterine fetal death. So, let's talk about it. So, what is intrauterine fetal death? All fetal deaths weighing 500 gram or more occurring both during pregnancy means antepartum death or during labor intrapartum. Antepartum death occurring beyond the period of viability is termed as intrauterine death. Usually results in the delivery of a macerated fetus. You have to see the key points in the definition like weighing 500 gram or more, and it should be during the labor. Death of a fetus weighing less than 500 gram before 22 weeks is termed as abortion, and death during labor ends in delivery of a fresh stillborn. The morbid pathology is the dead fetus undergoes an aseptic degenerative process called maceration. The epidermis is the first structure to undergo the process, whereby blistering and peeling of the skin occur. It appears between 12 hours and 24 hours after death. The fetus becomes swollen and looks dusky red. Gradually, aseptic autolysis of the ligamentous structure and liquefaction of the brain matter and other viscera take place. The changes vary in degree and are responsible for the characteristic radiological signs. I will tell you about the radiological signs later. Let's see a picture now. See the picture here. The baby is red, swollen, and there is peeling of the skin also. There are some causes of IUD like maternal, fetal, placental, iatrogenic, and idiopathic. Fetal is the most common cause. Now, the causes of IUD for maternal causes. Hypertensive disorders in pregnancy like preeclampsia and eclampsia. Diabetes in pregnancy. Remember the patient Annie? She had hypertension and diabetes also. And some maternal infections like malaria, hepatitis, influenza, toxoplasma, syphilis. Hyperpyrexia. The temperature should be more than 39.4 degrees Celsius. And antiphospholipid syndromes, thrombophilias like factor V latent, protein C, protein S deficiency, hyperchromocysteinemia. Abnormal labor like prolonged or obstructed labor and ruptured uterus also cause intrauterine fetal death. Postpartum pregnancy, systemic lupus erythematosus also cause this. Now comes the fetal causes. Chromosomal abnormalities, major structural anomalies, infections like virus, bacteria, chorioamnionitis, Rh incompatibility, non-immune hydrops, and intrauterine growth restriction. And the placental causes. Antepartum hemorrhage like placenta previa and abruptio placenta cause fetal death by producing acute placental insufficiency. Cord accident like prolapse, true knot, cord round the neck. Twin transfusion syndrome TTS. placental insufficiency. The iatrogenic causes are external cephalic version (ECV) and drugs like quinine beyond therapeutic doses. Idiopathic cause remains unknown, even with thorough clinical examination and investigation. Causes of recurrent intrauterine death: diabetes, Rh incompatibility, syphilis, chronic nephritis, antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, idiopathic placental insufficiency. You can see some causes are very common. Now the diagnosis. First, you have to know the history. Symptoms like absence of fetal movements. Remember the patient, he felt there was no fetal movements. And signs, retrogression of the positive breast changes that occur during pregnancy is evident after variable period following death of the fetus. Or abdominally, we can find some findings like gradual retrogression of the fetal fundal height and it becomes smaller in the period of gestation. Uterine tone is diminished and uterus feels flaccid. Braxton Hicks contraction is not easily felt. Fetal movements are not felt during palpation. Fetal heart sound absent. Use of Doppler ultrasound is better than the stethoscope. Cardiotopography (CTG). The finding is that trace. Eggshell crackling feel of the fetal head is a late feature. Now the investigations. Ultrasonogram of the uterus for pregnancy profile. This is the confirmatory test. Then plain X-ray of abdomen, blood, hematological examination. Now the ultrasonogram. Lack of all fetal motions, including cardiac during a 10-minute period of careful observation. Oligohydramnios and collapsed cranial bones are evident. Plain X-ray of abdomen is rarely done now. Following features may be found either singly or in combination. Scalding sign, irregular overlapping of the cranial bones on one another is due to liquefaction of the brain matter and softening of the ligamentous structures supporting the vault. Usually appears 7 days after death. Let me show you a picture. Here you can see the Spalding sign. Here is the overlapping of cranial sutures. Then hyperflexion of the spine is more common. In some cases, hyperextension of the neck is seen. Here you can see the hyperflexion of the spine and here hyperextension of the neck. Crowding of the ribs shadow with loss of normal parallelism. So what is crowding of the ribs? Crowding of the ribs is the intercostal space between the ribs become narrowed. And there will be also appearance of gas shadow which is called Robert's sign in the chambers of the heart and great vessels may appear as early as 12 hours but difficult to interpret. Here you can see the gas in the vessels and also in the heart. The blood test. To estimate the blood fibrinogen level and partial thromboplastin time periodically when the fetus is retained for more than 2 weeks. Now the hematological examination. ABO and Rh grouping, VDRL, postprandial blood sugar, glycated hemoglobin, HbA1c, serum urea and serum creatinine, thyroid profile, torch screening, lupus anticoagulant, anticardiolipin antibodies. Now the treatment. Expectant attitude, which is non-interference, and early interference. In non-interference, about 80% of cases, spontaneous expulsion occurs within 2 weeks of death. The woman with intact membranes, there is no evidence of DIC or sepsis, may remain at home with the advice to come to the hospital for delivery. Fibrinogen estimation should be done twice weekly. Then early interference. The indications are psychological upset of the patient is more common. Then manifestation of uterine infection and tendency of prolongation of pregnancy beyond 2 weeks. Falling fibrinogen level, it is actually rare. For interference, it is done by medical induction. A combination of mifepristone and a prostaglandin preparation is recommended as the first line choice for induction of labor. A single dose 200 mg of oral mifepristone and misoprostol intravaginally 25 microgram 4 hourly are safe, effective and low cost. Induction delivery interval was 8 hours. Misoprostol 25 to 50 microgram either vaginally or orally you can give. Repeat the dose every 4 hours. Then prostaglandins. Vaginal administration of prostaglandin gel or lipid pessary high in the posterior fornix is effective for induction. In which case, where cervix is unfavorable. Now, the oxytocin infusion. It is given where cervix is favorable. You have to remember it. Then 5 to 10 units of oxytocin in 500 ml of Ringer's solution is administered through intravenous infusion drip. In case of failure, an escalating dose of oxytocin is used on the next day. To start with, a drip is set up with 20 units of oxytocin in 500 ml of Ringer's solution and run 30 drops per minute. Oxytocin infusion may be used as a supplementary therapy when vaginal prostaglandins are used. Exclude the possibility of secondary abdominal pregnancy if repeated attempts fail to start the labor. Now, place of caesarean section in case of intrauterine death is limited. The indications of caesarean sections are caesarean section 2 or more, degree of placenta previa, transverse lie are the rare conditions. Postpartum suppression of lactation, we have to give cabergoline, which is a dopamine agonist. A single dose of 1 mg is required. But we have to remember that it should not be given to women with preeclampsia or hypertension. There are some complications like psychological upset. The mother may be worried and anxious and also depressed. Infection. As long as the membranes are intact, infection is unlikely. But once the membranes rupture, infection, especially by gas-forming organisms like Clostridium welchii, may occur. The dead tissue favors their growth with disastrous consequences. Blood coagulation disorders are rare, like DIC. It is due to gradual absorption of thromboplastin, which liberated from the dead placenta and decidua into the maternal circulation. During labor, the complications are uterine inertia, then retained placenta, postpartum hemorrhage. Now, what can we do to prevent it? First, preconceptional counseling and care to prevent its occurrence in the high risk group. Prenatal diagnosis by CVS. So, what is CVS? It's not cardiovascular system, it's actually chorionic villus sampling or amniocentesis in selected cases. Not for everyone. To screen the at risk mothers during antenatal care. So, antenatal checkup is a must during pregnancy. So, this is all about intrauterine fetal death. I hope you have liked this lecture. If you liked it, then give a thumbs up to my video and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button for more notifications. Thank you everyone. Bye.